like everybody else. Being myself is something I do well. Whatever you do, do it good. Whatever you do.
Hiya Steve, great session the other day. I hope we recovered from it. I bet you're exhausted after about 5.5 hours of hitting golf balls. Listed the key points that we discussed during the day down on the bottom left hand side there. Now obviously one or two of these things well, most of these things are things we've done in the past. P1 to P2, zero rotation of power accumulator number 3. As you saw at the start of your session, back of the left wrist started to load a little bit too much too soon. In your case that affects the shoulder tilts and the elbow conditions during the backswing. Starts us to almost extend, well, the early extension kicks in very early then. It's almost on the way back, isn't it? The left shoulder works upward. We tend to get a good view of your face at the top. There's a further shallowing of the shaft as you start your downswing, and that causes us problems. It gets the right elbow tucked in behind us from P4 to P6. So first of all, tidy up P1 to P2. As with other things, you know, when you start working on one thing, you tend to drift out of another. So P3 to P4, we still need a little bit of work on continuing to extend and finishing off, if you will, the backswing with the extension of the thoracic. That's something we've done in previous sessions. The bulk of this session really was to control what this right elbow was doing from P4 to P6. You can see the shoulder's not really tilting properly on the way back. Right elbow starts to get stuck underneath and behind. And really from there now, it's almost like we've got to flatten out the right wrist, stop the body, to get the club really to turn the corner. You do a pretty good job of doing that, but it does have an adverse effect on your ball striking and leads to some inconsistencies in regard to both path and face angle. We look at it from face on. Again, we see a lot of the face, left shoulder working up, right shoulder dropping back, club getting underneath us, and then now we start to flatten things out. The other thing we talked about, and you're trying to do it at this point, is from P6 to P9, watch where the golf ball's going. We're tending to hold the head in position and get that follow through. Going too far, that was earlier in the session. This is where we're trying to cut the finish off a little bit. So one of the things, or one of the main things we worked on individually, was stabilising the upper centre and maintaining accumulator 2 from P4 all the way to P7. Now, you know, we discussed this during the session. This originally came to me as a drill from a fellow instructor to help someone maintain accumulator 2. Once I got working on this and looked at this on video closely, it was also pointed out that the drill really helped with someone's elbow conditions. You can see the elbows squeezed together. You know, without really focusing on the elbows being squeezed together, Steve, to be fair at this stage, the key focus is on maintaining accumulator 2. So if we have a little look at that from down the line, again, stabilising the upper centre. The reason I'm doing that with your head is because initially when you worked on this drill, you were letting the upper centre translate forward as you were doing this drill. So from there, stabilise the upper centre, maintain accumulator 2, and you can see as you do that, the right elbow is in a completely different position as we transition from P4 to P5 into P5.5, as opposed to what we're seeing at the start. Much less in behind the right hip, much more in front of the right hip. So rather than punch elbow, getting more pitch elbow in golf machine terms. So whilst doing that, again, stop quicker. The tendency is to chase after it. Sorry, to keep the head still and really continue to extend all the way through into a sort of an overly long finish. Just, again, the final note there, P6 to P9, release the head, so keep your eye on your golf ball, and finish sooner. Great work, great session, and great feedback, by the way. Congratulations on the last win and a further reduction in your handicap. Look forward to keeping a closer eye on how that progresses through the time and space of the season. Well done, see you soon.